Hey there, it's me, John Stamos, in partnership with Cologuard. And a little birdie told me you're over 45. Listen, that's not old, it's really not. But it's an important age. If you're at average risk, that's when you start screening for colon cancer. And look, it's okay to be nervous, but it's not okay to ignore your own health. It's time to see if the Cologuard test can be an option for you to get screened. All right, I'm glad we had this little chat.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
And I'm Jake Novak filling in for Roger Stone here on this Tuesday evening, last day of March. I have a breaking story, an exclusive story for you coming up about 15 minutes after the hour, more like 20 minutes after the hour. We're going to talk to an Iraqi general who was one of our big allies in the Persian Gulf War. And he's going to have a very interesting update on this American journalist. Her name is Shelley Kittleson. Last we heard, she was kidnapped today by a pro-Hezbollah group in Iraq. And this is a developing story, a breaking story. You're only going to hear it here, so stay tuned for that about 20 minutes after the hour. But I want to talk to you first about a little bit. I'm going to pull the curtain from a little bit in this business. I've been in the television and radio news business for 32 years. And I want you all to imagine just for a second that you are the news director, the head honcho, the person who really makes the decisions for a TV news station or a radio news station coming into work this morning. You had two choices in front of you. You had, again, let's pretend it's TV. You had spectacular, confirmed, incredibly engaging video of the U.S. blowing the hell out of Isfahan, these underground missile caches. Massive explosions. You could tell that the bombs were hitting them, and then the bombs were setting off the missiles inside. The biggest explosions we've seen of this war, and we've seen a lot of big explosions. As they used to say on SCTV on that show, The Great White North, it blowed up real good. It blowed up real good. It was really good video, and it was strategically very important. This was a major blow to the Iranian missile arsenal. Yes, they still have some left. But it was also, as my friend Matt Tardio, who's a former Green Beret, informed me, and then he did it on his own social media account, they also took out one of the most important long missile launching sites. And it isn't, when you think of a missile launcher, it's not just like one launcher. It's an entire base of launchers. And a very long stretch of the missile launchers were destroyed. This is a big story. Now, if you're not a cheerleader for Donald Trump or you don't want to be accused of that, I can understand. You want to just basically say, this is clearly a major attack. It's clearly a major hit. You can be very, very conservative about it, but you can tell your audience, look at this incredible explosion. There are some military experts who are not partisan telling us this is a significant strategic win for the United States right now. Just saying, it doesn't mean the war's over. None of that. Not saying any of those things. So that was choice A. You could have led with that. And remember, TV is a visual medium. And by the way, if you wanted to do it on radio, there was plenty of great audio of those bombs exploding, which is not as engaging, I understand, as watching big fireballs blowing up in the sky. But it's pretty engaging. So that was choice A. Your second choice was to go with the story that was reported by one source that President Trump said something to somebody else about maybe ending the war in the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, how many times is the news media going to report on Trump saying something, and it turns out he either didn't say it or he meant it in a larger context, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we've been dealing with this for 11 years now, and no one seems to learn it. But let's say it really was something that you wanted to report real bad. That's what you're going to choose over bombs exploding, massive explosions? I would tell you about this big explosion and this major deal and major blow dealt to the Iranian military. But first, there's an unconfirmed report that President Trump said to somebody else. I mean, who does that interest? These people in the mainstream news media aren't just losing because of partisanship. They're not just losing because they're in a New York, D.C. bubble. They're not just losing because they want to be negative all the time. They're losing because they're bad at their jobs. Just to make things clear to you, staying truthful is something that we have to do. But other than that, our job is to get your attention. I'm trying to get your attention right now by telling you about this. That's how we get paid in this business. We need to show advertisers that a lot of people are listening to me. We need to show advertisers when I was in TV that a lot of people are watching me. Then I need to show them that they're watching even longer. Then they're watching other programs or listening to other programs. That's how we make a buck in this business. And it is a business, by the way. But you wouldn't know it. This is a for-profit business that the content of which is mostly run by people who don't think for profit. And you might think, well, that's great. They're just trying to be really, really smart and decent, and sometimes the most important stories aren't going to get as many clicks and viewers. Baloney. That means you failed. If it's truly an important story, if it's truly the truth, if it's truly getting down to what we really need to know about, and you don't know how to make that exciting and interesting and getting people to listen to, then you have failed. But I wish that were the biggest failure. That's not their biggest failure. If their only failure was, gee, there's this major problem with the sewer and everyone's going to die in the city and I don't know how to make that exciting, that's not their biggest problem. The biggest problem is they don't know what the great stories are. President Trump allegedly saying something is not a story anymore. He says a bunch of things all the time. He is the most accountable president we've ever had because he's so upfront about all the stuff that he says all the time. And every single thing he tries to do policy-wise gets challenged in the courts, gets challenged politically, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It never ends. It never ends. Now, as a lifelong journalist, I'm grateful. I no longer have to pretend or think or guess what the president is thinking. I've always wanted to have politicians who just told us what they were really thinking, for crying out loud. And I thought that's what my colleagues wanted also. That's what they said they wanted. But apparently it's not. And Trump allegedly saying something, when he says something very openly that you don't have to allege, he'll just say it for you. And I'm going to read something that he said earlier today that's much more interesting than what he's alleged to have said by some source we don't know. Is still not as interesting as it blowed up real good. Isfahan blowed up real good last night. I mean, really good bombs. Exciting stuff. You can't make this up. And you don't show that on your television network, and you don't play the audio of that on your radio channel. What the heck is wrong with you? You are in the wrong business. I can find plenty of people in my life who can bore me and tell me something that's less interesting. I don't need to spend my time and tune into my TV and turn on my radio to have somebody bore the heck out of me. I don't need that. And the fact that these people don't understand that we are in the get your attention business and don't seem to care, that's why they're failing. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you could be right-wing and still fail if that's the way that you do your business. You can be left-wing and fail, which is what they're doing. You can be one of these people who only wants to do stories that affect New York and still fail at your job. If you don't know how to make things interesting, if you don't know how to make it brief, if you don't know how to, I could have told you about this whole Isfahan thing with a 5-minute build-up, telling you where it is on the map, telling you about blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's just, it's where they put a lot of their missiles underground and we blew them up. Yes, you do need to know more if you're writing a term paper about it. You do need to know more if you're going to testify before Congress about it. But if you're my listener here on the radio, I just told you enough. If you're that much more interested in it, go look it up. That's great. But I'm in the business of getting as many people interested in a story as possible.